Rain lashed the city. It was the kind of rain that soaked you to the bone, no matter how tightly you held your coat. The streetlights flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced with the downpour. I was lost, hopelessly and utterly lost. Each turn I took seemed to lead me further astray. Then I saw it. A street unlike any I'd seen before. Skulls adorned the lampposts, grinning down at me with empty sockets. They were old, bleached white by time and weather. A low hum vibrated in the air, a symphony of whispers carried on the wind. It was a sound that sent shivers down my spine, a primal warning that resonated deep within my bones. But something drew me forward, a morbid curiosity that I couldn't ignore. As I stepped onto the cobblestones, the smell hit me. It was a sickly sweet aroma, heavy with incense and decay. Beneath the overbearing sweetness, a metallic tang lingered, the unmistakable scent of blood. People cloaked in dark robes moved like phantoms through the mist. Their faces were hidden, their features obscured by deep hoods. They huddled around small braziers, the flames casting an eerie glow on their skeletal jewelry. Each one clutched a skull, their fingers tracing the smooth bone in rhythmic motions. A low chant rose from the group, a haunting melody that seemed to seep into my very being. I was an outsider, an intruder in this macabre parade. Yet, I couldn't tear my gaze away. Fear, a cold and clammy serpent, coiled in my gut. I wanted to turn back, to flee from this street of whispers and bones, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. It was as if some unseen force held me captive, compelling me to witness the unsettling spectacle unfolding before me. One figure detached itself from the group. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding towards me through the rain-soaked street. The figure stopped before me, shrouded in darkness. I could feel its gaze boring into me, a palpable weight that made it hard to breathe. Then it spoke. The voice was a low rasp, devoid of warmth or emotion. "This is no place for the living," it hissed, the words heavy with unspoken threat. A bony hand emerged from the folds of its robe, the skeletal fingers long and disturbingly real. It pushed me, not with force, but with an unshakable insistence. "Leave this place," it whispered, the voice seeming to echo all around me. "Forget what you have seen." The touch sent a jolt of fear through me, breaking the spell that had held me captive. Suddenly, the chanting ceased. The whispers died. The figures in the street froze, their heads turning in unison towards the far end of the street. A new sound cut through the oppressive atmosphere, the heavy thud of boots marching in formation. The rhythmic clang of metal on metal echoed off the buildings, a sound that spoke of order and authority. From the shadows, figures in uniform emerged, their faces grim and resolute beneath their helmets. They moved with practiced precision, their weapons held ready. This was no ordinary police force. This was the army, here in this forgotten corner of the city for reasons unknown. The soldiers fanned out, surrounding the robed figures. A man, his uniform adorned with medals and insignia, stepped forward. He surveyed the scene with a mixture of disgust and weary familiarity. His eyes, hardened by years of witnessing the unimaginable, settled on the figure who had pushed me. "Disperse," the officer commanded, his voice sharp and authoritative. "This gathering is unauthorized. You know the law." The robed figure chuckled, a dry, brittle sound like dead leaves skittering across pavement. "The law?" it echoed, the voice dripping with disdain. "This city has long forgotten the meaning of law." The figure raised its head, and for the first time, I glimpsed what lay beneath the hood. It wasn't a face I saw, but a skull, bleached white and gleaming in the dim light. Empty sockets stared out at the soldiers, a chilling mockery of a human gaze. The air crackled with an unseen energy. The chanting resumed, louder this time, a frenzied plea rising from the assembled figures. The officer, his face a mask of anger and apprehension, raised his hand to signal his men, but he was too late. A blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the robed figures, bathing the street in an ethereal glow. Then just as suddenly as it began, it was over. The light faded, leaving behind the echo of the chant and the smell of ozone. The street was empty. The robed figures were gone, vanished without a trace. The officer lowered his hand, his face a mixture of frustration and relief. He turned his gaze on me, his eyes narrowing as if seeing me for the first time.